Ready.
Ready. Here we go. Okay, 3, 2. A quadruple murder suspect caught, and he may be linked to more killings.
2 GOP senators now want Georgia's Secretary of State out, accusing him of botching the election.
Increasing screenings for a deadly cancer that may not show symptoms. The new at-home health kit that could save lives. Are we starting at G12? Okay. An incredible collection of photos from the Apollo space missions and the golden age of space exploration going under the hammer.
It includes a rare photo of the first man on the moon and the first selfie taken in space. CBS's Riley Carlson has the story.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Videos from the Apollo 11 moon landing and astronaut Neil Armstrong's first steps are iconic.
One giant leap for mankind.
But when it comes to many of the still photos, Armstrong isn't in them.
Most of the astronaut photographs that you see from Apollo 11 are of Buzz Aldrin.
This photo is one of the rare exceptions, a shot of Armstrong at the spacecraft near the end of the mission. It's expected to fetch nearly $40,000 at auction.
And this was forgotten about in the aftermath of the successful mission. And it was only rediscovered in the 80s that there was, in fact, a photograph of Neil.
James Hislop is overseeing the Christie's Auction House online sale of nearly 2,500 photos from the space race era and beyond. Selfie enthusiasts will be over the moon for this. That's Buzz Aldrin on a 1966 Gemini mission turning the camera on himself. All the more impressive when you consider the conditions.
Also under incredibly difficult circumstances in the near vacuum of space, in clumsy, awkward astronaut outfits.
Managing the mission and snapping the shots that still captivate us to this day. Riley Carlson, CBS News, London.
Now on CBS 46 News at 5.
It's the news we've been waiting for, a coronavirus vaccine with proven results.
90% is a game changer.
What it means in the fight against the pandemic.
Joe Biden is projected to be the next president, but here in Georgia, it's still too close to call.
When the margins are this tight, every little thing matters.
Here we go again, the Gulf Coast hunkering down once more. We're tracking the path of Tropical Storm Ada. And breaking right now, Georgia's Secretary of State, Republican Brad Raffensperger, responding to calls from fellow Republicans that he stepped down. Secretary Raffensperger says simply it's not going to happen. In a statement, Raffensperger says Georgia voters hired me and the voters will be the one to fire me. As Secretary of State, I'll continue to fight every day to ensure fair elections in Georgia, that every legal vote counts and that illegal votes don't count.
Well, that response comes right after Georgia Senators David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler put out a joint statement calling the Secretary of State's handling of the elections, quote, an embarrassment. The two Republicans said Raffensperger failed to deliver honest and transparent elections, and they called for him to step down immediately.
Well, right now, the Trump campaign and Republican National Committee holding a press conference in Washington, D.C. They have been outlining their grievances with the vote count, which has now gone in favor of President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. They are contesting the results and holding a press conference right now. Let's take a listen for a moment.
But that was only happening in Philadelphia, but that was not happening in the rest of the state because the state law discourages that. So as Democrats were disproportionately voting by mail, they were disproportionately picking up those added votes in the city of Philadelphia.
Okay, so you can hear there are there's some upset, but again, they are not presenting any concrete proof or evidence that there was the kind of wide-scale corruption or fraud that would overturn the results of the election. We'll keep monitoring this press conference from the Trump team, and we'll let you know what they say later on in the newscast.
Well, Rick, while the Trump team is giving a presser there, Joe Biden is already making plans for his presidency. Here in Georgia, though, votes are still being counted. Here's where things stand right now, though. As more results come in, Joe Biden is starting to pull away from President Trump. He now leads by more than 10,600 votes. Well, the race certainly very tight, and some say too close to call at this point. Well, CBS 46's Melissa Stern heard from the Secretary of State today. And Melissa, the question everyone is asking, now we're almost a week past Election Day. Why is this taking so long?
Well, Tracy, they're saying that the issue now is that the margins are very tight. So every little thing matters, and they're being extra diligent to make sure everything is done correctly.
And that's one of the things we're focusing on here, is getting our count accurate and right, giving accurate information so that at the end of the day, everybody, regardless of whose side won and whose side lost, understands that in Georgia, we had an actual accurate outcome.
47 counties so far have given certified results. There are 112 more to go. More than 18,000 military votes were accepted. There are nearly 8,000 outstanding ballots and 1.3 million absentee ballots, and 126,400 were not cast.
We are going to find that people did illegally vote. That's going to happen. There are going to be double voters. There are going to be people who did not have the qualifications of a registered voter to vote in this state. That will be found. Is it 10,353? Unlikely.
Gabriel Sterling, the statewide voting system implementation manager in Georgia, also touched on the fact that there are rumors and hearsay about the election results thus far. He wanted to make it clear to not buy into these things and to find trusted sources.
Then there's been sort of a description of Georgia suddenly flipped from Republican for years to Democrat. Again, anybody who has been here is aware of the fact that none of this was sudden.
There were 2.7 million early and in-person votes, 1.3 million absentee votes, and 975,000 in-person Election Day votes.
So this office will thoroughly investigate. We know the system counted properly. We know the ballots that were there were counted properly and correctly. We know that. We're going to have an audit to prove it, and it looks like more than likely the president will ask for a recount to reaffirm that.
They said here today that every election is imperfect, but that facts are facts regardless of the outcome. Reporting live from the Capitol, I'm Melissa Stern, CBS 46 News.
Thank you, Melissa. Well, election season here in Georgia far from over. Right now, it's all eyes on January. All eyes all over the country on January in Georgia, as Georgia's 2 U.S. Senate seats are up for grabs in a special runoff. These runoff elections could have huge national implications.
Well, CBS 46's Adam Murphy joins us live now. Adam, what is at stake?
Good evening, Tracy. Here it is. It's very simple. If Democrats win these 2 runoff races for a United States Senate, then they will likely have a clear path in the Congress to push their agenda through. If Republicans win these 2 seats, well, then that will be difficult for the Democrats to push their agenda through, because Republicans will maintain control in the United States Senate. It's setting up essentially a checks and balances in the Congress. The battle for power in the United States Congress comes down to Georgia. 2 key Senate races control our nation's destiny. The first runoff features Senator Kelly Loeffler and Raphael Warnock. The second runoff is between Senator David Perdue and Jon Ossoff.
Unless we win these Senate races, we will not be able to enact the policies necessary to control this pandemic and recover economically.
Ossoff has already challenged Perdue to 3 televised debates. This after the senator dropped out of the final debate before the general election.
You know, if a sitting U.S. senator refuses to debate, that says a lot about their lack of self-confidence and the fact that he doesn't believe he has much to run on.
Perdue and the Republicans like their chances of defeating Ossoff and what they call his radical socialist agenda. The GOP in Cobb County will welcome U.S. Senator Marco Rubio to town on Wednesday to rally support for conservatives.
This is an election that may decide all of America's energy policy, tax policy. This is an election that's about everything.
There is no question that hundreds of millions of dollars will be spent in Georgia on these 2 races, attracting the attention of the entire nation.
Or I don't know of a single case in the country that has been like this, where a couple of seats that potentially could go either way would could potentially settle many of the political fights that go on in Washington.
Now, the Perdue campaign sent a statement to us today in response to Ossoff's comments in the story saying, quote, "A vote for Jon Ossoff is a vote to hand power to Chuck Schumer and the radical Democrats in Washington. Georgians won't let that happen," end quote. Now, who is likely to win these races? Right now, hedge fund research shows that odds favor the GOP for picking up at least one of those seats. That's because you can see it reflected in the way the markets are responding. They certainly like stability. We'll stay on top of this story and be following it all the way through January 5th. We're live in Midtown Atlanta. Adam Murphy, CBS 46 News.